Detroit Den 313. We are back. Stephen Will. If you notice, my tone is a little different. I'm not cheerful. I'm not joyful. All right. But before we get going and we talk about this nonsense, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget the bell icon so you don't miss any of our new content. Steve, tell them why I got to club every single voter that voted the wrong way.
I'm actually getting ready to put up some wanted posters for whoever these voters are because this is 2 years in a row now. A Detroit Lion has been robbed. Last year it was Aidan Hutchinson, Defensive Rookie of the Year. This year it's Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year. I don't understand, Will. I don't understand what needs to happen. How do you feel?
I think that the only way that Dan Campbell can win Coach of the Year is if he wins 3 Super Bowls in a row.
I don't understand. So here's the rundown for the votes. Kevin Stefanski wins for the Cleveland Browns. D'Amico Ryan second, closest vote in history, came down to one first place vote. You're telling me that Dan Campbell lost by 132 points by winning Coach of the Year after taking his team to the NFC Championship. And I'm not crying over spilled milk. We should be playing on Sunday in the Super Bowl. You're telling me that that's not Coach of the Year worthy?
There's one or two things. Either the whole world thinks that we were supposed to win the Super Bowl and we underachieved, or we just got robbed.
I'm going to say I'm not sure which one's right, but both of your theories make sense.
But you know what's great about this situation?
Fuel on the fire.
Yeah, like Jocko Willink. Guys, take the time if you don't know what I'm talking about. Jocko Willink, good. Go look it up. This flows right into who we are. We always find a reason to have a chip on our shoulder, to be angry, to be having bulletin board material, have a reason to get up, get after it, train, focus. And this is just another reason that we got to prove to the world why we got the best coach in the NFL.
Yeah. Here's what I don't get is I understand Kevin Stefanski, the Browns, they had a phenomenal year, but I feel like Myles Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year. Isn't that kind of like, you kind of got a little edge there, don't you? You got the best player in the universe playing defense for you. I get it. You lost your quarterback in Deshaun Watson. You go to Joe Flacco. That was an upgrade. That was a blessing in disguise. You probably don't make the playoffs if that injury doesn't happen. Am I wrong there?
Buddy, if Joe Flacco doesn't leave Meyer, if he doesn't stop pumping gas,
buddy, it made me laugh. It still hurts.
I'm just telling you, this team is watching the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like it is. I can't.
Yeah, we could talk about all day about how the Browns lost Deshaun Watson. You got better at quarterback. Joe Flacco deserves that $63 million that Deshaun Watson has coming in. And I get it. You lost Nick Chubb, too. That's a loss. Running back position, we've seen time in and time out. A guy had Green down. Hunt. Yeah, you could throw that next guy in there. I get it.
They had my cousin Jerome Ford.
Like, what are we doing? Yeah. I don't understand. Like, Cleveland had a good year. I don't understand. So we've kind of talked about this in the middle of the season. Is Dan Campbell on track to win Coach of the Year? And I've said, I think you win Coach of the Year by exceeding expectations. What were the expectations for the Texans, for the Browns, for the Lions? I think they're all roughly about the same. I don't think anyone thought that the Texans would get to the playoffs, but they did. They were aggressive in the draft. They got Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's how you accelerate your expectations. The Lions, 9-8 last year. Name one player or one analyst who had the Detroit Lions going to the NFC Championship game this year. It was always going to be Philly and San Francisco. That was never talked about being the Detroit Lions.
I know one.
Stephen Will.
That's it.
We're just one body now.
End of list. The Detroit Den.
We're just one person now, just Stephen Will.
And even the Detroit Den said, and yes, that's correct. But even the Detroit Den said, hey, listen, the minimum is winning a home playoff game. So that was our minimum, winning a home playoff game. So that goes to show you slappies, homers, whatever you want to call us. That was where our barometer, right? So he even exceeded what our minimum barometer was. Now, did we have goals, aspirations, and a vision that we saw that we thought could be possible? We did. But nobody, literally, the only person that should have been in the conversation is Ryans. Other than that,
I can understand D'Amico Ryans.
Like,
They're 2-15 last year. They had a great draft. They got their quarterback. They got a piece on defense. New coach. I can understand him. I can't understand Stefanski, and I can't understand the gap in which Dan Campbell was third and lost by 130 points. That just is unacceptable to me.
I'm thankful. I'm thankful. Thank you guys. The public, the other players in the NFL, like Micah Parsons, they don't allow the Detroit Lions to get complacent. They don't allow us to get content. They don't allow us to get comfortable, because just when we feel like we've turned a corner, they just do something to keep us motivated. So I thank you. I thank you guys.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I truly believe that the only people who are going to be upset by this are YouTubers like us and fans.
Yeah.
Coaches, they personally don't give a shit. I don't think. I think it's just fuel to the fire. But I don't know, man. It just seems like 2 years in a row. Like, just do people do we not, are we not watching what really is going on in Detroit? Are we not watching what Dan has built in 3 years? Like, we weren't supposed to be here in year 3, and here we are.
I keep hearing things like ahead of schedule, and I'm not talking about in Detroit, but I do hear it a little bit in Detroit. But I'm talking about across the NFL. I'm talking about the analysts. I'm talking about ESPN. I'm talking about CBS. I'm talking about even YouTubers. I keep hearing that word used. We are ahead of schedule. We are having just phenomenal personnel development. We are doing a phenomenal job in our building. Come on, man. Well, what are we doing? But again, fuel to the fire. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't like the whole ahead of schedule statement, because to me, it's in the NFL, you're one really good draft away from being in competition.
Yeah.
Depending on how good of a draft you need that to be. Like, if you're picking first, you need a miracle. If you're somewhere, in the middle, like if you hit on 3 or 4 draft picks like the Detroit Lions have, you're not ahead of schedule. You're developing and you're evaluating talent properly.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
The Jared Goff situation. People want to say that Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback. Some say top 5 quarterback, but they don't want to pay him like that. People want to say that the Detroit Lions, led by Dan Campbell, are ahead of schedule, but they don't want to give him his flowers. I don't get it.
We did kind of get some good news today.
What was that?
Frank Ragna officially saying he's not retiring. He's running it back. It's official.
I didn't think that he was going to retire, man. I knew it was floating in the air, but it is very, very nice to hear that Jackson Powers Johnson is just going to be able to play guard
for a year or two and then slide over to center.
Yeah, he's got time to get comfortable, learn from a Pro Bowler. But if you guys don't know already, I talked to Dan, I talked to Brad. We're drafting Jackson Powers Johnson. You can go ahead, if there's Vegas odds, you can go ahead and put that down. Jackson Powers Johnson, you heard it from Will. Detroit Den 313. Feel free to reward me with your winnings.
Is that your official? Is he going to be the guy you're locked onto for all 3 of our mock drafts? Because keep in mind, if you're new to this channel, we do mock drafts. We don't do weekly mock drafts. We do one before the combine, after the combine, and the day before the draft. We are not going to mock draft this channel to death. Kind of gets repetitive, kind of just, I don't want to say clickbait, but it's kind of clickbait. We don't want to fall into that category. When we talk about guys, we talk about them because we want them to fit. So we did get a little bit of good news today. More like a weight off our shoulders. I didn't think Frank was going to hang him up, but it was just kind of like that looming what if all season. And I'm glad it just kind of came out, got addressed, squashed. He's coming back, kind of shifts our focus a little bit and what you and I can talk about now and in the future going forward up until the next season.
Our O-line's set, buddy. We got Decker. Yeah, it's going to be Decker, Jackson Powers Johnson. We're going to have Ragna, right? We're going to have Glasgow. We're going to have Pine, and we're going to have Skipper. Good night. It's over. Put in the books, folks. You heard it. Best O-line in football.
Well, it's already the best O-line in football, but you're just locking in Powers Johnson right now, 100%.
Buddy, listen, the only thing that's going to change me is free agency, or if they start to rank the other guard, Barton, they start to rank Powers Johnson ahead of him, then we have to start to play the game. Will he still be there? But I think he's the type of guy that I could see Brad Holmes going anywhere from like 26, to go get him. And then if it looks like, for whatever reason that he's going to slip out of the first, and maybe he does the unthinkable, which I'm knock on wood. I do not want that to happen. I do not want to be at the draft and us not have a Detroit Lion walk across that stage.
Hopefully not. But like I said, just a little talk about some bad news, some robbery tonight. talked about some good news. We're never going to end a show without talking about something good. So Frank Ragna running it back kind of gives us some options in the draft, some more options in free agency, something that we don't necessarily have to address right away this season. But in the future, we don't know what Frank's going to want to do. So talked about Dan Campbell, the robbery. At the end of the day on that one, it's also just an award that coaches don't give a shit about. It's just guys like me and Will and people on Twitter are all upset. And I'm upset. I think it was deserved. I think he should have at least finished second, at least been way closer in the voting. I don't know what they look at when they're voting. It's disrespectful to me.
I think they just pull blind, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Stefanski, hell of a coach, great job. You also had the defensive player of the year on your team. I don't know. It feels like a little bit of a Mike Tirico asterisk, if you ask me. So leave it in the comments down below. Let us know how you're feeling, guys. Robbed, let us know how you're feeling about Frank Ragnow. If Will's right about Powers Johnson being the guy at 29 in a couple months, it's all open. It's all open for discussion. Leave it in the comments. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to this channel. We'll be back later with some more content.
Peace.